Excuse me, just line you up. I've got a book that's languishing with publishers at the moment who want it split into three. And so instead I'm just reading excerpts from it, maybe doing an ebook version of it all. Gee, I hope you can see me, but anyway, we'll give it a shot. The title of it is Untucked, and that comes from a very long time ago, when one of my teenagers and I passed each other in our narrow hallway of our home in Whangarei, and he made the comment to me, "You should wear that untucked," as teenagers do. Didn't stop, didn't explain it, but I knew that he was referring to my t-shirt. That boy is now a cop. So, like every book, sometimes there is a chapter that's a little bit sad, but it's part of the wider picture, and it has to be completed that way. So here's a short version of it. It might make you tear up a bit. It could cause me to do that too, but we'll give it a crack and see what happens. But it took a while before realizing that despite this God of the Bible I now fully believed in, being the creator of the universe, he may not change my circumstances. Well, not the way I would like or expect personally. I believe the verse, "one day is 1,000 years," plays a big part, but I don't know. Catholics call it the mystery of God. We Christians, especially we Pentecostal variety, want answers. Well, we're just not going to get them this side of eternity. It was over 2 decades before I understood this fully. It is more than enough to know his presence. Amen to that one, eh? I knew it a little back in 1992, when Maxine Russett called me on my great big mobile telephone the size of a brick, weighing just as much. Our leader of the Catholic Charismatic Renewal, Whangarei, was everything a good leader should be. Maxine epitomised reliability, grace, unpretentious, humble, quick to laugh and smile. In Maoridom, she would be a kuia, a special person in the tribe. "Paula's got a tumour," she said. Now, as incredibly serious that announcement was, my blokey brain thought, duh, what is a tumour? I was driving along Rathbone Street outside the Central Post Office, and Maxine's message should have got through like a Wells Fargo mail. Such a stupid saying that. It's American, not Kiwi. Stagecoach, not rural delivery van painted red, and sometimes the mail didn't make it. The stagecoach got attacked and robbed. Eventually the message did make it into that part of my brain that comprehended, this is serious. From then on, things did get in fact lost in the fog of war. Whether spiritual or not, whatever, we were under attack, and we did get robbed. I mean, it wasn't as if it was unexpected. A couple of weeks earlier, I said to Paula she should get her neck checked again. She wouldn't have a bar of it. She was a nurse. I wasn't. The doctor had already told her what it was. The ACC-appointed physiotherapist had it under control by feeding the tumour with ultrasound, I would later be told unofficially, perhaps erroneously. And besides, she was busy running my office and feeding our kids. Also, she was excited because the local medical clinic, not the same one as giving the prognosis incidentally, had just offered her a dream job just up the road from our home. She would be their clinic nurse. Initially, when the pain in the neck wouldn't go away, I went spiritual. I tried borrowing a friend's car, much bigger than mine, so she could lie down in it, to take Paula to Kaitaia, our largest northernmost town, where a visiting Christian with a ministry in healing was ministering. Bit wordy, but anyway. Instead, she eventually went to the doctor, and the wrong treatment began. Later, I went covert, called her friend and clinic nurse at our family doctor and said, "Paula's neck isn't coming right. She now can't drive. Can you call her and pretend you just want her to come in for a routine follow-up check?" She was a good sport, and she agreed. Later, our doctor went, well, maybe we better x-ray the front as well as the back of the neck, and whoops, what's that shape as big as an orange doing there? From there it all becomes a blur. Decades on, there are only blobs of memory, of heartache and laughter, of supernatural events, which at the time didn't seem very natural or super or otherwise. It was all just stuff. First came work and what to do as a self-employed independent assessor with files coming out my ears. Neither a pretty sight, files or ears. My ears, I'll just skip that bit. I tried selling the business, but wasn't a go. No time, and everything was going chaotic by the day. A colleague from Auckland arrived and helped finish files and took away some of them, so that eventually that thorn got removed, and I could concentrate on 3 young boys losing their mother, and by now a very sick wife who went from being able to drive one week and couldn't the next. I wasn't angry at the doctor or physiotherapist, but real furious at the thing growing by the minute called a tumor, and modern medicine that said nothing could be done. No chemotherapy, no drugs, not even radiotherapy. Everything was too advanced. How could that be? Outwardly, she was my beautiful wife sitting in our office typing my reports and being a mother. Now it was decreed, life over. Well, not on my watch or that of our Catholic friends. Meal rosters got organised, and soon there were brothers and sisters in Christ, work shifts, taking turns to do things we couldn't, while Paula languished in our local hospital just down the hill, getting worse by the day. One Saturday evening I walked into her ward, leaving kids at home with goodness knows who, of the many friends and family helping. As I bent down to say hi and kiss her cheek, in a sudden burst of unknown strength, she sat up, flung her arms around my neck, and cried out she was sorry for times she had been angry at me. And a voice in me said, "Take her home." A nurse appeared, and I said, "I want to take her home." The staff knew that 10 years earlier, Paula had been one of theirs, angels they call nurses, and in a flurry of activity, things got done, possibly, nobody else could have got done. And it wasn't long that same night that she was at home in our bed. Then more things happened in the spiritual realm. Paula's father had already died of cancer years earlier after he got a miracle. I know that sounds a bit confusing, doesn't it? But he did get a miracle, but much later he died of cancer. The cancer in his liver suddenly vanished. He went to a church home group run by Paula's sister and her Catholic charismatic brother, and doctor specializing in, among other things, hideous diseases and oncology. That night, a little group of Catholics near Hastings prayed over Stuart, and then the cancer disappeared. So it was our turn. My anger at this tumor thing was intensifying, and I figured God was pretty miffed too, because suddenly things changed. We were sitting at Auckland Hospital being told glumly one minute by the head of radiotherapy nothing could be done, therapy not worth it. The next, emergency therapy was being organised. She wouldn't have to go back to Whangarei to die, or wait for further assessment, or wait to go on the queue for emergency therapy. She would be admitted immediately. The trip to Auckland had nearly killed her, and later we were told Paula qualified for delivery there by ambulance, but I didn't care. I was getting her to the special oncology section of Auckland Hospital fast, not waiting for procedural things like ambulance transport. When we got there, I grabbed a wheelchair from somewhere in the sporting complex, and soon Paula was lying under the attention of people who perhaps in military terms were the special forces of palliative care. Drips were being inserted. Drugs were arriving. Before my eyes, a transformation in her condition began happening. That direct husband brought on the tears. A nurse noticed, and a cup of tea was quietly placed nearby. I can't recall how many weeks or days of gradual doses of emergency radiotherapy got done, but it worked, and we were back home. Paula was living a relatively normal life, taking kids to school and doing things around the home she previously couldn't. Fast Father Peter sat behind his neatly organised desk and lightly slapped the top near a meticulously arranged stack of papers and said firmly, "Catholics don't believe in tithing." Paula was vilified. Neither did she. We both sat before our parish priest as he explained to me, mainly, why we didn't have to give 10% of our income to him and the Catholic Church. So why did I feel God telling me we should? There. I hope you found that interesting, at the very least.